Rob, welcome. Great to do this with you. I listen often, you and Swanee. It's an honor to fill in. I don't know if I can bring the same level of charisma and banter. I hope to. But it's a special week. It's our normal format, 72 holes, but there's no prize money. There's no points on the line, only glory. How does that affect the way you think guys will go about things at the Olympics? Where also, third place is not something to be shy about. First through third, I'll go home with a medal. How do you think all these factors will impact play this week?
Yeah, first of all, though, look, is that Sean Martin? Is my monitor deceiving me, or is that really Sean Martin? My goodness.
It's not John Swantek. We know that.
I was going to open up with some sort of joke that we got you at the trade deadline, and or maybe you're just a call-up like Jackson Holiday with the Orioles today, back in the bigs. I do joke on X with the followers that Swanee and I interrupt our hiatuses with shows.
Sure.
But you and I, a hiatus. It's been 6 years since we did this together. So somehow it's happened again. The old Facebook Live show was when we were last connected.
Who can forget?
So yeah, so let's just start there because I was reeling when I knew that you were going to be coming out of the bullpen for this one. So it's good to see you. Always good to connect with you. Some of my most illuminating conversations over the years have been with you, and I'd like the viewers and the listeners to know that.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped the pleasantries. I went straight into a just hard-hitting golf bet related question.
Yeah. Well, that makes one of us. Yeah, look, the Olympics. It's I joke in the opening of the Golf Bet Insider today that it's unofficial. It's not quite an exhibition, but there are no earnings as it pertains to the results directly. There are no FedEx Cup points. There are World Golf Ranking points, and those matter. But it's kind of in the same lane as the Hero World Challenge as it concerns our approach. From a golf prognostication analyst betting standpoint, it's certainly different from a fan standpoint. It's going to bring in a whole new legion of fans. Who are like, wait a minute, golf's in the Olympics? Yeah, third time now in the last 8 years. And if you'll pardon my French for a moment, we expect the Americans to kick some hiney. I think that's the idea this week. 4 of them in the field, 3 of them, they may sweep the podium.
You got to be careful there. I'm sure we thought that in Tokyo also, and you got Rory Sabatini and CT Pan on the medal stand alongside Xander Schauffele. So
yeah,
let's hold on.
Yeah,
Rob.
Well, that's the fun of it, right? So we look at the betting board and say, well, where's the value? And 60-man field, and surprisingly, and again, that's a relative term, but surprisingly to me, it's a nice, deep, broad field considering how it's constructed with 60 golfers from 32 countries. It's almost like the floor of the prospective winners of the gold medal is higher than the prospective winners of the Masters, which is always a top-heavy field, but it is strong and deep, and there's a lot of value out there. So there's a lot of fun that we can have this week with the betting board.
And let's get into that fun. I want to hear, first off, let's just go favorites. Le Golf National, a very unique golf course, really I think requires a very specific skill set. And so with that in mind, maybe enlighten the viewers on what Le Golf National is going to demand from the players and how that affects who you consider the favorites.
You've already beaten me 9-8 on the pronunciation of the golf course, so I'm not going to go there. Thank you. It was a little bit like Paul Hodowanik pronouncing the Renaissance Club for me, so he took care of that one.
It's all about the right emphasis.
We're supposed to be writers, but no, you're killing it on the vocal. First of all, I loved your comment with Colin Morikawa in Expert Picks as it pertains to the fit. Certainly his form is outstanding, but he's not number 1, 2, 3 in the power rankings. He's number 4. It's almost like a 1A, 1B sort of situation this week. So the golf course caters to what you had written about. No reason to disagree, no reason to really almost add anything to it. It's just to emphasize the fact that it's not that long, a little about, it's going to play 7,100 or so. It's par 71 with 3 par 5s. Water on more than half of it. And depending on how the rough is cut, it's going to be lush. They've had a nice wet year there in Paris and a surrounding area, so it's going to require some precision off the tee. We know Morikawa has that amongst other guys in the field. And then you have to be able to score because the weather's going to be terrific. The wind's going to be down. The greens are larger than average, so it could be a bit of a shootout. We're looking at maybe 15 to 1,700, that type of thing, to win this. And Morikawa's basically been living in that range all year. That's the fit. And the idea there is you step back and look at the macro. It's the fact that you want the golf course to give everybody in the field an opportunity to play well and showcase what they do best. Nevertheless, it's 72-hole stroke play event, no cut, so they're going to have every opportunity to do that on a course that's going to be difficult for some, but not for most. And so that's what's great about the timing of it, is that there's really nothing in the way for these guys to play well.
Let's go down your expert picks. You went straight down your power rankings as well.
Keep it simple and non-confusing.
The top two players in the field really probably aren't a surprise to most people, but some may quibble with the order. Why don't you tell me who your gold, silver, and then maybe follow up with your bronze medals. Just tell us who you think the medal stain is going to be filled by.
Yeah, again, it's that 1-1A. You know, it's a coin flip. There's no wrong answer. But it's almost one of those instances because Xander Schauffele at number 1, Scotty Scheffler at number 2. It's one of those instances, though, where if I was going to flip a coin, I'd probably wanted to land on its side because I've said from day one, I don't sit on fences. So there's my order, but I'm giving it to Schauffele. You know, I obviously the big debate right now is who's the player of the year, given the fact that he has 2 majors and Scheffler has 1 plus another 5. I think I'm giving it to Scheffler personally if I had a vote. But right now, the fact that it's just so odd. I mean, this is the rarest golf tournament in the world, once every 4 years. And it's difficult to qualify. It's harder to qualify for this than it is, say, the Century, the most exclusive tournament, or at least was before they opened it up a little bit. You had to win to qualify.
Depends what country you're from.
True. Very true. Nevertheless,
Jonathan Vegas is in the Century and not in the Olympics.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that when you look at the field at the golf course that you correctly pronounced for this week. But there's only 4 Americans in the field, and so we have 2 of the 3, at least, Americans who won majors this year in the field. And so here we are with those guys. And I just look, Schauffele won the gold medal. We know that, coming off the win at the Open Championship. That's enough for me right now. You know, if we had this result and they did it again next week, maybe the order is different. That's how close it is, which makes it obviously very compelling. It's one thing. Again, we open that conversation we could have about, you know, which is better, a guy like Scheffler who dominates or this type of mano a mano. And I dig this much more than I dig a guy. But I like both at the same. I like both over time. Just let's have it in doses, and we're getting that right now.
You gave us your top of the board. Where can we find some value in this field?
Yeah, that's the real fun of it. I mean, again, up and down. It's kind of surprising when I was going through the Golfbet Insider where I add some of the deeper plays on the betting board at BetMGM. Found some of that, but with respect to sleepers, which comes next after the power rankings in the order of my work, like the Thomas Dietrich at the plus 750 at the time for a top 5. Now we're reaching here, but Sean, 4 of my top 5s, and maybe you don't know this, have connected almost at 6 at some point. So it's been an oddly successful market for the big fella this year. I'm very happy about that. Obviously, lucky every single time. And maybe we'll do it this week. Just, top 1, what was that? Top 1/12th of the field, right? Top 60. Yeah. Top 5 of the 60. That's where we are with that D-tree. And then you go down a little bit further. I would say the top 20 prop I have for Matty Schmid plus 220. Obviously, that's top third of the field, no cut. So, it's going to be kind of shorter odds, relatively speaking, but as it concerns that market specifically, that's really nice for a guy who's playing well. And, you can dive into the weeds all you want, but the fact is that he's been playing well, and that's all that's mattered in the last year or so as it pertains to prognosticating him to play well. Just a plug-and-play sort of guy. So the fact that he's sitting there plus 220 is really nice right now. When he's not playing well, you avoid. And that's very simple as well. So he's one of those guys, kind of like the old Billy Horschel. Not so much the Billy Horschel last like 2 or 3 years, but the old Billy Horschel, kind of like the old Russell Henley. Those guys, Schmid's a little bit like that. He's just not finishing inside the top 10. We don't care about that in the top 20 market. So those are a couple from sleepers. We can go into the Golfbet Insider as well. But when we're looking at guys who have been playing really well that deserve a little bit more attention than just idle throw-ins with the Golfbet Insider, those are a couple guys that are on the board that I really like this week for the Olympics.
You mentioned your process. I'm always curious by it. You're a very regimented individual. What did the process look like for this week with so many unique aspects from the golf course to the field, and how much did you dig through old French Open results to impact your power rankings? I didn't see any Guido Migliozzi on there.
Well, Guido actually is my outright winner in sleepers. He's the guy I have coming from 80 to 1. And again, just for the record, because everybody watching and listening already knows, an outright sleeper has not won this year. Justin Rose was the closest at the Open with the T2. He came very close at 100 to 1 that week. So Migliozzi had 81. But yeah, you bring up a great point. He won the FedEx Cup Open de France 2 years ago. And that's not nothing. So that's enough, though, for when it comes to the sleepers. I like that. And, of course, he's one of the guys. He just won the KLM Open about 6 or 7 weeks ago, so he has a recent victory. And, again, when we're looking at a field, that's a really good question because most of the time we have a deeper field. We have much more a load of information or data set that you can dive into to help frame the narrative and frame the support or frame what is not support so that you're investing your units elsewhere. This week, the French Open certainly is helpful. I think the idea there is since it was renovated for the Ryder Cup in 18, we're using that period of time only in terms of, all right, they have some experience. Fabrizio Zanotti, for example, from Paraguay, third Olympics. I don't know if he's at a top 35 in the French Open, but he's played it 4 times. That's not nothing either. So if you're reaching into a top 20 market for a guy with experience who has played in the Olympics before, this is sort of like just the next thing for him. He's been planning on it. Paraguay doesn't have much in terms of professional talent on the world stage in golf, but he's it. So he's going to represent. I think he actually was a flag bearer for the country in the opening ceremony. So that's how much he's invested in this tournament. And then sort of and by the way, as I mentioned, he's had 4 starts in the French Open. So that's, again, we're looking at golfer-specific information, and that's when we dive into the guy like that. It's not everything; it's part of it, and I don't mind a guy who doesn't have any experience, but it does help. You know, there are I think I hit in every golfer, all the 5 Europeans who were in the Ryder Cup in 18, who are in the field. I hit them in some way, shape, or form, just so that they had that attention because that was a big win for them, and the course was adjusted, as you know very well. The course was adjusted for the Europeans that week, and they came out and they proved why it mattered. So that's good experience as well. Granted, 6 years ago. Hey, just like you and me with one of these shows. So if they perform as well as you and I are today, then we should maybe like a 5-way playoff for the among those guys for the gold medal. We will see. But yeah, so there's a part of it. Again, recent play though is the biggie. If they're arriving in this event and they're not playing well, obviously it's not the plan. They're not going to find their game necessarily on this course in this competition. There's just so much at stake. It's so different. It's kind of like when I talk about the majors, they're just so different. Other than Augusta National, which hosts every year, the dynamics are different. Failure is no big deal. Sungjae Im did not play well in the first 3 majors here. I don't care. And then he played really well at the Open Championship. Good. That's what he should have done. But the first 3 are just you throw them away. This is sort of like that. Again, it doesn't count against them. There's everything to gain. Certainly history for the country and all that sorts of things. So we just take it all in a grain of salt, and then we analyze, like a guy like Zanotti, what does it mean to him, and how can we use him in terms of the market? So there's that macro when we start, and then we get into dive into it for every single golfer. There's just unfortunately not enough time to do that with even only 60 in the field this week.
And with being such a unique setup, it does look like you maybe leaned a little more on course fit than other weeks. You've got Ludwig Aubert, one of the straightest drivers in the game, at 6. Shane Lowry's next, and then Tommy Fleetwood, who played so well in 2018 with Francesco Molinari in the Ryder Cup, at 8. Corey Connors, your favorite ball striker's favorite ball striker, at number 9. Noren, another 2018 Ryder Cup, at 10. Tom Kim, a guy who thrives on shorter courses and a straight hitter, is 11th, and he finished 6th in the French Open last year, as you noted. And then Sepp Straka, another straight hitter.
Yeah.
And then rounding out the top 15, Victor Hovland, Matthew Pavone, and Matt Fitzpatrick. Rob, before I let you go, I do need to know, which Olympic sport would Rob Bolton most likely be a medalist in?
Water polo.
Okay.
I answer that very quickly. It was my best sport in high school. I was not good at basketball despite my height and my size. I couldn't shoot a layup. But when we got into the pool, I realized I had the athletic ability to play that sport, and unfortunately, it ended in high school. My heart would be, of course, be in baseball, and when baseball was in the Olympics, and we'll see it again in a few years. But that also stalled out when I was 13. But water polo would probably be the thing, man. That is just the coolest, the most fun, and the most intense physical activity you could have in a pool, and you get to score. You know, I mean, you get to actually put points on the board, so that's fun. I'm going to ask the same question to you, though. How about you?
Gosh, great question. I mean, I guess golf. I didn't pursue much outside of golf. I'm just gonna have to go with golf. I feel like your long limbs would make you well suited for handball as well.
Ooh,
but instead,
did to play some handball in high school as well. Love that, but you had to dribble at times, and that was not good for me either.
Well, instead, I can leave all of our listeners with the mental image of Rob Bolton in a Speedo as they rest their head on the pillow, get ready for the opening round of the Olympics on Thursday. Rob, always a pleasure. I think we got a lot of information here and a little banter. No baseball talk, but plenty of Olympics. Thank you for doing this. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, man. And I'll promise the viewers and the listeners, we're going to leave it to the mental image of what you just shared. So we'll catch up with you next time, pal.
Sounds good. Hopefully it's not 6 years.
All right, man. See ya.
See ya.